It's about the view. It's like, it's become like a medical hospital that displays human misfailure. Like, it's like here, let's look at this political oddity. It's like, it really is like the left-wing equivalent of a carnival sideshow, except instead of bearded ladies and fat clowns and two-headed cows. Well, let me rephrase that. But
misogyny and sexism.
Sure. All that. And the price of butter. Sonny gets the game ball. If it wasn't for her, asking that question, it might have been a closer election.
Tyrus and Greg Gutfeld elevate roast to a completely new level. Destroying Savage Burns delivers epic clapbacks and enough awkward silence to fill a library. And Sonny Hostin disappears like the last piece of pizza at a party. It's amazing how two TV titans transformed a serious talk show into a comedy roast battle. Stay tuned for this hilarious takedown that will go down in history.
Nothing really comes to mind. I was like, cha-ching. Listen, they're bitter, they're angry, they're entitled. They also should be. This should have been a reset for everyone who pushed lies and misinformation for the last. They call them Hitler, they call these things. America rejected them. And instead of coming back and saying, we lied, they instead are now doubling down. So let her keep doing it, because if she keeps that up, we're going to keep getting the Senate and probably the House and the White House, because people see right through your lies. So keep doing what you're doing. Game ball to Sunday.
When Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus get together, it's like throwing a lion and a crocodile into the same tank. Except this time the lion and croc don't just fight. Instead, they make the poor gazelle appear completely lost in the wilderness. Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus are back at it. And this time their target is Sonny Hostin. Yes, that Sonny host is the ever-serious, always on the offensive, intellectual, no-nonsense co-host whose don't mess with me energy could frighten a pack of wild wolves.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sonny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from...
Now, if earnestness were a sport, Sonny Hostin would have more gold medals than Michael Phelps. She is known for reading the news as though it were a somber national tragedy and delivering each sentence with the weight of a funeral procession. However, when Tyrus chimes in, it's like a gentle giant dropping a piano on your foot slowly, steadily, and devastatingly. And when Greg Gutfeld opens his mouth, it's like a comedy grenade going off in a library.
It's not even that. In The View, you don't need to find Trumpers. You need to fire your race baiters.
Yeah.
You need to fire the two races. You've had people. You had a McCain on there. You've had people on there before, and you ran them off. Mm-hmm. So the racist ones who want to stick to this, Whoopi and Sonny, and was it Bette Midler? What's her name? Yeah, broke-ass Bette Midler. Fire them and bring people in. Maybe you could get McCain to come back. She was a Republican, but every show and every break, she was nearly in tears because she was being attacked.
First, let's speak with Greg. Greg Gutfeld is the type of person who views the news as a joke that simply keeps getting better, and he has the jokes to back it up. It's like seeing a Shakespearean writer mock a soap opera star when Greg takes on Sunny Helen. His sarcasm is so razor-sharp and his cultural allusions are so spot-on that you'd think he has the entire internet in his back pocket.
The View is a victim of the sunk cost fallacy. How can you now speak the truth when for years you've been telling lie after lie after lie? Now you're carrying this big bag of rocks around you because it's too harmful for their ego to admit that we really were dishonest. And they could be honest. All they would have to say is, look, we hate Trump so much. We were willing to lie about Joe Biden because we felt he was preferable. We thought our lying and our cover-up was on your behalf. Just say that. You're still scum, but at least you're honest.
Greg makes Sonny a symbol of everything he finds ridiculous about the mainstream media, going beyond simply insulting her. He portrays her as the poster child for TV celebrities who have made sincerity their full-time job, often forgetting that humor is a weapon rather than a danger, and the anticipated outrage. The virtue signaling the self-righteousness dressed in designer suits taking Sonny's most solemn comments, and making them sound like they're coming from a robot designed to parrot progressive talking points with no human feeling is one of Greg's signature tricks. Greg takes the microphone and turns what was once a heated argument into a punchline. But what really makes his attacks so satisfying is that they're not mean for the sake of being mean. His sarcasm turns her points into the media equivalent of a broken record playing the same tune over and over until even the loudest fans have tuned out. I can almost hear the invisible eye roll. Greg's humor is effective because it deftly highlights the inconsistencies and theatricality of Sunny's television persona. In addition to making fun of her, he's also holding up a mirror to the entire daytime political commentary genre, exposing it as occasionally more soap opera than serious news. And then there's Tyrus. Greg and Tyrus are like night and day, or perhaps more accurately, a sledgehammer and a feather duster. Only in this instance, the feather duster strikes more forcefully than you might anticipate. Tyrus's delivery is straightforward, uncomplicated, and composed, like someone who has just discovered they are going to be struck by a freight train but aren't even aware of it yet.
The problem is that you have to go after the racist people. And if the CEO goes, you know what? I'm not going to allow a woman on my show or man that will go after white America and talk about them like dogs. That doesn't represent our ideals or values for anyone. And get rid of those people. And this will clear up real quick. So do you have to actually look in the mirror and clean up your own backyard and get the racist people out? Because that's who you allowed in. You allowed black racists on TV who could just go all day and say anything about white people. And I guess lo and behold, they forgot that there's a lot of people at home, white people at home during the day that are not watching your show anymore. So just clean it up.
Where Greg's sarcasm is lightning rapid, Tyrus is a slow burn who lets silence do half the work. His humor focuses on bringing down the bloated, and Sunny host is a perfect balloon. He focuses on the parts of Sunny's arguments where they become so convoluted that even she probably loses her train of thought. Then, with a single deadpan remark, he reduces it to the essentials, usually something so clear-cut or direct that it's hard not to laugh. Tyrus delivers the quintessential troll delivery. Quiet, collected, and so casual that the joke sneaks up on you, as if to say, hey, I'm just here to observe, but also you're ridiculous. Tyrus doesn't need to yell or slam down a microphone to get his point across. And when Tyrus looks at Sunny, it's as if a gentle giant is subtly pointing out that the emperor is naked. Tyrus's strategy is brilliant because it shows how even the most intelligent commentators can become so engrossed in their own intricacies that they forget that the viewer only wants truth and clarity, or at the very least, some amusing mayhem. Tyrus's slow-burning zingers and subtle smirks cause Sunny Hostin's high-octane sincerity to disintegrate. Now, Greg and Tyrus' collaboration is what truly sets this takedown apart.
If she is shaming descendants of this, will she continue to do that when she is now one of them, Dana? And it is funny. She's so wrapped up in identity, and she had no idea who she was.
Well, now we understand why she always makes Whoopi get the coffee.
Greg sets the stage with his high-energy, razor-sharp sarcasm, and the first haymaker, pointing out the ridiculousness of the media landscape and portraying Sunny as the queen of sanctimony. Tyrus then enters with the ideal slow-motion closing move, delivering that jaw-dropping one-liner that simultaneously leaves everyone laughing and gasping, their styles balancing each other like a masterfully planned dance. Greg is the shrewd one. Tyrus's consistent uppercut together, Greg stirs the pot and Tyrus delivers the icy blast of reality, creating a rhythm that Sunny just cannot follow. It's no contest. Sunny tries to maintain her seriousness like a shield, but it's obvious that she has outperformed her usual strategy of delivering sincere rebuttals when faced with humor that's so pointed that there is no room for a comeback. Because here's the thing. It's like watching a heavyweight champion team up with a tactical genius to dismantle a prima donna who forgot she signed up for a comedy match rather than a debate club. Not only can comedy, particularly the sort Tyrus and Greg use, make people laugh, but it also exposes the pretense, draws attention to the contradictions, and makes the serious seem a little absurd. This explains why the entire incident is a window into a societal shift rather than just a humorous TV moment. With its sincere talks and well-crafted arguments, traditional punditry is facing competition from snarky, exaggerated, unapologetic comedy that can cut through the clutter and drop truth bombs while making you laugh so hard your sides hurt.
Husband against Hillary Clinton. And the bottom
They did all
line
those
is,
things.
this country is a misogynistic country, and this country is a country that out of all of the first world countries hasn't been able to elect a female president.
So
That's just factual.
Okay, listen.
That's not what I read. The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a lot of...
In an era where people are sick of the same old solemn speeches and prefer a little chaos with their news, Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus are leading that movement by using humor as a weapon to cut through the overblown seriousness that sunny Hostin represents. They're not just making fun of a TV personality, they're redefining how political commentary is delivered. Greg and Tyrus have a comedic synergy that feels scripted but isn't exactly like peanut butter and jelly, but with a lot more sard and less sugar. It's a precise attack squad, not just two men chatting trash. One member is trained in cerebral sarcasm, and the other is a master of deadpan bluntness. Together, they produce a humorous dance that is more coordinated and much more ruthless than a boy band reunion tour. Greg's the spark plug, the astute thinker who makes observations so incisive they could shatter glass. He doesn't simply make jokes. He also crafts linguistic jabs that reveal the theatricality underneath sunny Host's earnestness. His comedy is loaded with a blend of highbrow cultural references and scathing criticism that meticulously analyzes the ridiculousness of media celebrities. Her lofty declarations are reduced to the level of a TED lecture delivered by a broken robot, while his comedy is like watching a skilled chef savagely and wonderfully dissect a wet sandwich.
Small. But who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sonny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now, The View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that glass doesn't...
Enter Tyrus, where Greg is the linguistic gymnast who flits between quick-fire wit and intricate sarcasm. Tyrus is a heavyweight fighter who knocks out opponents with the composure of a monk. His technique is subtle but deadly, a slow, purposeful hammer to the funny bone that leaves you grasping your ribs. If Greg is the blazing comet rushing across the sky, he lives on timing, dropping one-liners so precisely that you don't see the punch coming until it's already landed. Tyrus, the steady meteorite that strikes the earth and causes you to gasp in shock, has a two-part comedic riff-like dynamic. Greg often starts off with a scathing joke that seems almost too clever to be mean, and just when you think the joke is perfect, Tyrus delivers a quiet, crushing one-liner that makes everyone laugh out loud. For example, Tyrus might say, "Yeah, like a soap opera star who forgot her lines," after Greg has pointed out that Sonny's seriousness is actually just a well-choreographed performance. Tyrus's relaxed delivery and Greg's high-energy snark strike a hilarious sweet spot, making their combined attack feel unavoidable like an unavoidable punchline.
Who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all. Because everyone knows the moon caused the eclipse, which is controlled by the View's gravitational pull.
Their timing is where the true magic lies. Greg's quick-witted jokes keep the tempo high, tearing apart Sunny Host and the sanctimonious wall piece by piece. Tyrus then interrupts with the ideal pause, a beat of silence that builds tension before delivering a line so deadpan and on point it's like the punchline to a joke. This back and forth is like a comedy tag team that doesn't just humiliate Sunny. It leaves the View itself looking like it's stuck in slow motion, desperately trying to catch up, but always one step behind. One memorable moment that perfectly captures this synergy is when Greg mocks the predictability of Sunny's outrage, describing it as an automatic setting on a robot program to virtue signal. You can almost hear the studio lights flicker in disbelief action. Tyrus then calmly adds, "Sounds like she's got a software update overdue." The room is filled with laughter, but it's also a masterful display of timing and accuracy. The audience is in the front row watching a demolition of sincere punditry disguised as a straightforward TV segment, but beneath the humor lies something deeper. Sunny's carefully preserved dignity crumbles under the weight of their combined assault. Their chemistry isn't just about laughs. It's about timing rhythm and a shared instinct for when to jab and when to deliver the knockout blow.
You know, I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Those hens are always clucking. They get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, and then I get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, except on purpose. But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly, it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you want to poke it with a stick.
The historic conflict between traditional earnest commentary and the emergence of humor as a razor-sharp tool for critique, wherein once serious news anchors and pundits commanded respect through measured tones and carefully crafted statements, is symbolized by Greg and Tyrus's tearing into Sunny Host. Today, humor and sarcasm are the new weapons in influencing public opinion. Traditional punditry, such as Sunny Host's brand of seriousness, depends on a facade of gravitas and moral certainty. It all comes down to delivering a message with weight and significance, persuading the audience of the rightness of their opinions. The issue is that when the same script is repeated ad nauseum, it becomes predictable, tiresome, and easy to mock. This is where Greg and Tyrus enter the picture, using humor as a scalpel to cut through the cacophony and reveal the underlying absurdities that earnestness attempts to conceal. Because of this, the Greg and Tyrus takedown of Sunny Hostin is significant for reasons other than the amusement. It serves as a microcosm of how media consumption is changing. Greg and Tyrus provide just that. She had to admit to the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds annoying. Hey, I'm an idiot. Audiences are ravenous for content that deviates from the norm and doesn't just preach but also play, lecture, and laugh. They want commentary that reflects the chaotic, absurd world we live in, not just the polished talking points wrapped in a serious face. While the authorities warned us that breathing in public could kill us, everyone else was trying to figure out how to survive. However, at least I gave this dame a tip, probably virtue signals on the toilet, but that's not the point. As she mixed Cocoa Puffs into a haggadah, Sunny was idly wandering around her spacious home, browsing on images of arugula. Oh, the oppression. I wonder if she cleaned the groceries herself or had her maid do it. They are cultural analysts who use humor as their preferred tool, not only comedians mocking TV personalities. Their humor cuts deeper than 1,000 serious debates because it bypasses intellectual defenses and goes straight for the gut. When they humiliate Sunny Hostin, they're not just scoring points on a TV feud, they're challenging the very format of political discussion. So while Sunny Host may be the face of traditional earnest punditry, Greg and Tyrus represent the rising tide of humor-driven critique. Their attacks aren't just about who wins or loses on a particular day, they're about signaling a new era in how we consume and think about political commentary. And in this era, laughter isn't just the best medicine, it's the sharpest weapon, because at the end of the day, when you mix Greg's razor-sharp intellect with Tyrus's unflappable bluntness, you get a comedic force that doesn't just entertain, it dismantles, exposes, and redefines us. And that's why no matter how serious Sunny Host tries to be when she's up against Greg and Tyrus, humiliation isn't just probable, it's inevitable, and that's why this showdown is one for the books. In addition to making Sunny Host look foolish, Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus served as a reminder to everyone that sarcasm will always lose out in a fight between seriousness and sarcasm.
I had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds insufferable. Hey, but at least I tip. This dame probably virtue signals on the toilet. But that's not the point here. While everybody else was trying to figure out how to survive as the government told us that breathing in public could kill us, Sunny was lolling around in her big house clicking on pictures of arugula while mixing Cocoa Puffs into her Haagen-Dazs. Oh, the oppression. I wonder if she wiped down the groceries herself or had her maid do it.